I'm going to move to another subject which is actually impacting all of us. The prices of edible oil in the last 1 year, retail prices have gone up anywhere between 20 to 60%. They have shot up. Yes, the prices have cooled off slightly in the last week or 2 weeks or so, but overall, even if you compare a year to a year ago, they're close to 50% higher. Now, what is the reason for this? Largely, it's because we import most of the edible oil that we use and that we consume in all of our households, restaurants, etc. So over 60% of it is imported. International prices have been going up, especially in Malaysia and Indonesia, in part because of COVID-19. There are other factors which are also contributing to global prices going up. So what should we do? Should we be cutting at least our import duties? Our import duties on some of these oils are upwards of 30%. To give us a sense of the picture of what is happening with edible oils, I'm joined now by Sudhakar Rao Desai. He is the CEO of Emami Agrotech and President of the Indian Vegetable Oil Producers Association. I am also speaking now with Shankar Thakkar, National President of the Federation of All India Edible Oil Traders. Welcome, gentlemen, to the India Development Debate, and thank you for speaking with us. Shankar Thakkar, let's go across to you first. Can you give us an idea of why we are seeing such a hike in edible oil prices? All right, let me go across to Mr. Desai. I think we've lost Mr. Thakkar's audio. Mr. Desai, if you can hear me, can you first lay down the foundation of why we are seeing such high prices?
Yes, like you said, thanks for having me here. Like you said, India is import dependent to the extent of 65%. So most of the inflation that has happened in edible oils is a consequence of what has happened globally. Due to weather factors driven by La Nina, there has been a stagnant to nil growth of production in Malaysia, Indonesia, from where we get about 100% of our palm oil import, which is nearly 8 million tons. There also has been a drought kind of a situation in Argentina, which exports soybean oil to India. Similarly, at the same time in Ukraine, which is the largest producer of sun oil, from where India imports about 2.5 million tons, has also faced a production crunch. On top of it, high prices or low prices always attract government attention anywhere in the world. So Indonesia has increased the duties by about $350, which is like 35%. At the same time, India also has a 35% import duty. And last but not the least, there has been mandates in Indonesia and in US, partially in EU, diverting the edible oil into the biofuel with a subsidized rates. So this has also caused, I think these are basically the macro global factors due to which Indian consumer was paying 70-80 rupees range of prices per liter, which has gone up to as high as 170-160 rupees. And currently now, in the last 2 weeks, because we are into a production cycle again back in Malaysia, Indonesia, I think there has been some reduction of 10 to 15%. So basically prices went up by about 70%. Now, since they have come down by 15%, we should expect in the next 2-3 months some respite and relief in edible oil prices. Yeah.
But even so, you're right that prices have come down to some extent in the last 2 weeks. But if you compare to a year ago, it is still a very painful situation. And for our viewers, I want to put this into perspective. This is not a commodity that you can cut down on beyond a point in your household. Add to that high fuel prices, add to that loss in income. So it is becoming a pain point. Mr. Thakkar, we have your audio up now. Would you like to give us, sort of the context of why these prices have shot up so high, and is there anything that we can do? The first, sort of trigger is let's cut import duties. Why is that not being used this time round?
हाँ, इसमें प्राइस बढ़ने की जो बड़ी वजह है वो ज़्यादातर मेरे पूर्व वक्ता ने बता दी है और इसके लिए भारत सरकार को कदम सही समय पे उठाने चाहिए थे। हमने इसके लिए इनको भारत सरकार को इन्फॉर्म भी किया था जब प्राइस बढ़ रहे थे। इंटरनेशनल मार्केट से हमको मैसेज आ रहे थे कि प्राइस बढ़ने वाले हैं, और इसमें सबसे बड़े प्राइस जो बढ़ने की वजह है, ये सब रीजन तो है ही, इसके साथ साथ जो बड़े गैम्बलर है, जो बड़े सटोरी है, जो इसके कमोडिटी के जो ये कोविड के बाद उनको दूसरी कमोडिटी में से इसमें डाइवर्ट हुए और इसमें इन्होंने बहुत बड़ा स्टेक होल्ड किया, इसकी वजह से ये प्राइस राइज हुए हैं। और सरकार को इसके लिए इमीडिएट कदम ये उठाने चाहिए थे कि पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में इनको जो अभी बंद कर दिया फिलहाल सालों में, उसको तुरंत चालू करना चाहिए था। और इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी अभी इतना जो रेट बढ़ गया है, तो इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी कम करनी चाहिए थी सरकार ने समय पर, वो भी नहीं की है। इसके अलावा सरकार की सोच थी कि जो फार्मर्स है उनको ज्यादा दाम दिलाने थे, लेकिन सरकार ने यहाँ पे ये देखा नहीं है कि हमारे देश के अंदर जो फार्मर्स ग्रो कर रहे हैं उसमें जो हमारे इसके लिए जो फार्मर्स ग्रो कर रहे हैं वो कितने परसेंट है इक्वेशन टू हमारी जो पॉपुलेशन है, वो सरकार ने सोचा नहीं है। 98% लोगों को जो राइज हुआ है रेट, उसका तकलीफ हो रही है। बाकी 2% जो फार्मर है जो ग्रो करते हैं इसमें उनको बेनिफिट देने के लिए सरकार ने उस समय पे ये सही कदम नहीं उठाए। अगर वहां पे सही कदम उठाए होते, जैसे ये एमसीडीएक्स पे जो खेल हो रहा है उसको बंद समय पे कर दिया होता और इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी में कम कर दिए होते, इसके अलावा पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में इसको लेके आते थे, तो मेरा मानना है कि ये रेट पहले ही कंट्रोल में आ चुके होते। आज ये लास्ट जब से सरकार ने हमारे साथ मीटिंग करी और हमने कुछ सजेशन दिए, उसके बाद तुरंत एक्शन में आके सरकार ने जो इमीडिएट कदम लिए, इससे करीब करीब 20% लास्ट 15 डेज में मार्केट कम हुआ है।
ठक्कर जी, तो आपके मुताबिक सरकार को अब क्या करना चाहिए? एडिबल ऑयल के प्राइसेस कम करने के लिए क्या करना चाहिए? अब सरकार का कहना है, जो हमें सुनाई दे रहा है, कि अगर हम इंपोर्ट ड्यूटीज कम कर लेंगे तो वहां पर बेचने वाली जो देश है, मलेशिया हो, इंडोनेशिया हो, वो उतने ही हिसाब से प्राइस बढ़ा देंगे, तो उसका कोई मतलब ही नहीं कि इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी कम करें। तो हमारे हाथ में अब क्या विकल्प है?
हम ये कर सकते हैं, हमारे यहाँ 5% जो जीएसटी लगी हुई है, एसजीएसटी है, उसको आप तुरंत हटानी चाहिए। ये कदम हम ले सकते हैं। इसके अलावा जैसे मैंने पहले भी कहा आपको कि पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में गवर्नमेंट खुद इंपोर्ट करके गवर्नमेंट के जो सेक्टर है एसटीसी वगैरह, उसके द्वारा वो पब्लिक तक माल पहुंचा सकती है कम रेट में। अगर कम रेट में लोगों को माल मिलना शुरू हो गया तो बाजार ऑटोमेटिक कंट्रोल में आ सकती है।
Mr. Desai, in your view, is this something that we will have to just bear for some time? We know that the attempt is on to reduce the dependence on imported oil seeds and imported edible oil. So the manufacture of edible oil seeds has gone up massively in India. But what is the gestation period before which this strategy will actually come to bear fruit?
Yeah, two things. Talking about the government, I think government was concerned. Apart from consumers, it is the hotel industry, it is the feed industry, for example. There are a lot of people who are dependent on this edible oil sector beyond just the consumers. And especially when I heard the debate on the Horeca, for example, which was undergoing troubles due to lockdowns. But government, we've been meeting almost every month. Government was very careful in analyzing the price trends. They were even asking and checking with us, taking data on the supply chain, what are the port stocks and whether there are any shortages. I think the problem currently is not that of supply chain or nor of any hoarding. Why? Because the markets are very inverted. That is, the forward markets are very cheap. The markets were falling. On the top of it, there is a duty rumor. I don't think any sane businessman would like to hoard or hold under such circumstances. In case the prices have fallen currently, it is only due to the global factors right now. But you asked me about short term and the long term very clearly, because we have discussed it so often with the government. In the short term, there were only two options. Either you reduce the duties because the prices are much above MSP of the oil seeds. So somewhere you need to balance between definitely the farm prices and the consumer prices and the industry, right? So the duty cut was often thought of. What we definitely did not want is the rumors and speculations that makes it more complex. PDS was a little bit late in time. Like I said, there was always this option. We often suggested that the government should buy locally from the refineries and make it available at discounted prices. It is a very complicated supply chain. In fact, from IVPA, we have suggested cash credit card system as a eventual solution. For all the ration card holders, you give a cash credit cards, they can buy from anywhere because the industry is so large. It is a 1.5 lakh crore industry. Supply chain is definitely not the issue. All the industry players are making a humongous effort in bringing from all these countries, from the domestic market yards, from the mandis, despite the pandemic and lockdown, and making oil available at the shelves. So maintaining supply chain, making a stable policy. This is where I definitely want to say that at least from IVPA, we've been saying that some kind of a formula that it connects the MSP of the oil prices plus something and the consumer prices, then like many of the developed countries have, you should be able to change the duty structure automatically. Every time the duty discussion need not go on for a month, and by the time you act, the market has changed, because the market is very, very volatile today. It's volatile by, let's say, 4 to 5% every week. So the duty of 10% is nowhere there. I think we are more recommending as a longer term goal, a stable, transparent philosophy wherein the government can decide what price is the right price. Otherwise, it becomes everybody's opinion. So what is the right price, keeping in view a balanced view? That is number one. To your second question, it takes about 5 to 7 years more to increase the stagnant domestic production with the National Food Security Mission, National Oilseed Mission. I think that should trigger, but it would take a few years to improve the domestic availability from, let's say, current 30-35% to eventually to 45-50%. But the fact remains, whether you produce domestically or imported,
but Mr. Desai,
you will have to balance.
No,
the price has to be balanced.
Right. No, price has to be balanced, that's correct. But I just want to understand from you that why have domestic production rates been so stagnant over all of these years? Because it's not like we're not producing oil seeds. What is the issue when it comes to producing edible oil in India?
Very, very good question. I think that's a very fundamental question. Indian farmers have done wonders in wheat and rice and any crop, vegetables. I think it's an amazing fact of Indian economy. When it comes to oilseed sector, the productivity has been very, very low compared to these countries, and that explains why you have a duty protection. One is productivity, and also at these prices, it is a good opportunity for breaking the wheat and rice cycle, the water guzzlers, because we are producing much what we require of wheat and rice and other crops. So this is a very opportune time with the right support to the farmers. Not only just the duty factor, there's a lot of things to do on the technology, on the hybrid, on the water resources. I think right opportunity to break this cycle and move the wheat and rice farmers to take up oil seeds for the simple economic reason that today it makes sense. Economic sense to produce more of oil seeds. So a stable and consistent policy, regular support to the farmers in the medium to long term. Short term, you still have to manage with the right way of balance between domestic and imports at the right price. Yeah.
Absolutely. One more factor into all of this when we look at edible oils over the next few years is how several nations, the US, Brazil especially, are ramping up the use of biofuels, where these oils will be blended with fuel to cut down on emissions. And that's going to impact demand as well as supply. So a very interesting space to watch out for. I want to thank both of you for joining us on the show today, Mr. Desai, Mr. Thakkar, and explaining to us more than anything else why we are seeing this huge rush in edible oil prices. We have to think seriously about what we can do to reduce the pain on the common man's pocket.